Whenever you have one of the best coaches of all time that's no longer there, it has a huge effect on your recruiting. For whatever reason, Tennessee and Alabama didn't go head-to-head as often before Saban. If you want to go back and look at the history of that, it was Alabama.
Didn't Tennessee put Alabama on probation over recruiting head-to-head?
Well, that's true. That is true. Alabama also, I think it was a thorn in Philip Fulmer's side because, like Louisiana, that we've made reference to, there was a tremendous amount of loyalty with in-state prospects, but they just don't have as much as Louisiana. Now, the interesting thing is what you may not know is Huntsville is now growing tremendously fast. Birmingham is growing tremendously fast. There's areas in South Alabama. So as far as an in-state recruiting base, I think we're having a different discussion post Saban than we would have pre or during. Pre, you didn't have a big emphasis in going into the state of Alabama. I covered recruiting for goodness knows 15, 20 years. So you didn't have a big emphasis. Now, I think you had the emphasis and you had the opportunity. I don't think you had the opportunity when Nick Saban was there. I think he grew that into something, and it would have been fruitless to try to get in there at the time. At least that's the way I see it. Brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun. Enjoy life better when you see better. Local vision service for LASIK, cataract surgery, and regular eye examination. ccteyes.com, ccteyes.com. I don't know if you know this, but I think it's the CIA that's putting like a major headquarters in the Huntsville area. That may suddenly be a very fruitful place for Tennessee to recruit and have success in, Caleb, because the big bad wolf's not there anymore.
Yeah, and for those the way history has worked at Alabama, there was a period after Bear Bryant retired where Bear Bryant actually built up a stable of high school coaches in Alabama that had the programs running as a factory. But by the time you were covering recruiting, that had fizzled out really massively. And because Alabama, there was a phrase before Nick Saban that Alabama will never return to prominence until they bury the hat, because they could not stop talking about Bear Bryant. Okay.
That's awful. That's an awful way to put it, but it's very good. Go ahead.
There was a joke. How many Alabama fans did it take to screw on a light bulb? It only took one, but it took 5 to sit around and talk about how Bear Bryant would have done it. That's how Alabama was for a long time. And like everything had to be Bear Bryant, and it wrecked the program. And you're right, it hurt recruiting. High school football fell off. But now you're right, it's really exploded in the North Alabama produces some of the best coaches in football. And I'm not just talking about Jeremy Pruitt, okay? But I'm talking about Bill Clark, guy at UAB, who I think was there for a while, one of the most respected men in football circles. Hoover, Alabama, when Pruitt was there, was on MTV, was featured on MTV in the early 2000s. Dave, remember that? For their coaching. And so it's a great, they develop talent very well up there. Here's the other part. And here's a very underrated thing. And you saw this with Amari Jefferson, who we're going to talk about in a second. Alabama's always had a bit of an inside track into the Chattanooga, Southern Tennessee border. I mean, always. You can ask Philip Fulmer. He almost went to Alabama in the 1960s. He really seriously considered Alabama.
David Cutcliffe did go to Alabama.
That's true. Cutcliffe did go to Alabama. And I mean, Tennessee did. I don't know if Reggie White was ever entertaining Alabama. You may know more about that than I do. But when you get those, the southern portion of East Tennessee is not a factory for football talent, but there are special players that come in there every 5 to 10 years, and you got to get them if you're Tennessee. Derek Dooley didn't think you had to get them, but everybody else thinks you have to get them if you're at Tennessee. And Alabama was always a big threat with those guys. You would think Georgia would be a bigger threat to Chattanooga, but Alabama's always been a bigger threat to Chattanooga talent than Georgia has. And I think that's kind of the big deal, is that from a recruiting perspective, not only can Tennessee maybe now get into Alabama, Tennessee can finally close off that southern border.
Yeah, they can. Now, I want to put this in perspective, being a guy that's covered recruiting. So Nick Saban leaving is a monster news story in recruiting in the SEC. There is no question about it.
Huge.
However, I do want to clarify, it would not be nearly as big just because of the regions and how they face off, as if Kirby Smart retired. I think you would agree with that, because I want to take a look at Tennessee versus Alabama recruiting for a second. The Vols had won a battle with Arian Carter. They don't face off against Alabama because of the paths, both with this staff and other staffs, have not overlapped with Saban's as often. So I don't think it's one where Tennessee can suddenly start to sit back and say, oh, there's 3 or 4 more 5-stars you can add to each and every class. Whereas if Kirby Smart stepped away at this current time, you'd be on the borderline of that.
Yes, you're right. That is true. You could start to read Georgia, and they did beating Alabama for Arian Carter was probably one of the biggest deals and the biggest signs that Josh Heupel had something special brewing at Tennessee. Also, an early sign that Nick Saban realized he was behind the 8 ball with NIL. I don't know, but I have a feeling Tennessee had a little more to offer than Alabama did with that bandwidth, and I think that helped a lot. Also, if Nico Iamaleava is Tennessee's Deshaun Watson, not character-wise, performance-wise, guys. I don't think Nico Iamaleava is getting a bunch of massages, okay? But if
he is, but he's getting the right ones.
He's getting the appropriate ones, yes.
Yeah.
If Nico Iamaleava is Deshaun Watson, George MacIntyre is Trevor Lawrence. And George MacIntyre, when it was down to Tennessee and Alabama, he seems like a lock now, the 2025 quarterback. I mean,
it's funny you bring him up. I heard from a source today that's pretty much a done deal, right? And I think that is a done deal. Don't be surprised if you hear something on that in the coming days.
Yeah,
a little bit of information you don't get anywhere else. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of names. Can we do that for a second? And it's brought to you by the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House, chat with 2Ts.com. Please use the promo code HOOKED so that you support our sponsors. And that's why we're here. We greatly appreciate that. A monstrous 2024 to come. So hit the like and subscribe button, turn those notifications on. So the names we want to discuss when it comes to Alabama and Tennessee recruiting, one, which is at the bottom of Jaru's column for good reason, it's the Arian Carter. That's a win on the trail. So this is a sign that you can go in and beat Alabama, especially if they're hampered by not having a Nick Saban. Here's the other thing. This is not just recruiting high school kids, Caleb. This could be recruiting current Alabama players that you had a really good relationship with, that there was a really close battle with, because with the transfer portal, they can be in Knoxville in, 14 minutes.
Which we should let everybody know, the transfer portal has reopened for Alabama specifically. As of today, Alabama players have 30 days to re-enter the portal, even though the window has closed.
And that is because of Nick
Saban retired, which is another reason Nick Saban, it seemed like a middle finger retirement, because he put Alabama in a really bad position to retire right now.
Well, I'm not going to do that. He's got to leave at some point. There's not a right time. There's not a right time, is there?
I mean, you could do like Coach K, be like, this is my last year, and I'm going to hand the reins over to John Shire after this.
Then you destroy recruiting, don't you?
Maybe. And look, Saban, to his credit, maybe he didn't want that. He's not some narcissist who wants like a ceremony at every place he goes his last year coaching. But
I just don't think there's a right time. I think college football and the NFL are probably the two sports more than any that are just year-round sports. At some point, your school or franchise is going to look at you, if you're a successful coach, and say, why'd you do it then? Yeah, I just think that to some extent you can't win for losing. If you do it in June, they're going to be like, now it's hard to hire a guy. And there were all those camps that were on campus.
Okay, that's a fair point. That's a good point. So just wanted to touch on the just real quick, the other players, because with the transfer portal opening, the current signing Amari Jefferson. Amari Jefferson was recruited with Boo Carter out of Chattanooga. Jefferson went to Alabama. Boo went to Tennessee. Amari Jefferson's a 4-star wide receiver in the 2024 signing class. There's a very good chance Tennessee flips him within the next month. Now, if they don't, not a big deal. He's a receiver. I know what Jimmy and John have told us this week, but I think Tennessee's more loaded at receiver than people realize. So that could be the one thing that holds them back. The other two big ones these are just players from the state of Tennessee. Justin Jefferson, a 4-star linebacker from Memphis, was a JUCO kid, and 4-star tight end Ty Lockwood. He was a 4-star out of Independence High. So between the two of them, Dave, I guess you go for the linebacker because that's a greater need, right? Of the three, Justin Jefferson, Ty Lockwood, and Amari Jefferson, I think Justin Jefferson's the most desirable one because you need linebacker help like yesterday.
I would think so. And I hate to put you on the spot as doing quiz radio, but if a guy's a signee, could he transfer before he showed up on campus in the Jefferson situation, Amari?
Yes, because the transfer portal window opened.
Okay. So the old rules of that beat Ed Orgeron spending the night on campus, those are all gone.
That's a good.
That was a rule. That used to be a rule. That's why all those guys didn't go to Southern California with him, because they had spent.
That's true, because they had already started classes. Alabama. When does Alabama's second semester begin in 2024? This is a real question now. That's okay. Saban. Wait, Saban actually was really okay. Saban actually did Alabama a favor. Second classes began yesterday.